Welcome back to Picture Breakdown. This is a breakdown of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 5, Truth. I'm going to be going through this episode shot by shot for interesting visual details, as well as any background information that you might need to know. Just a quick heads up, there's going to be spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen the episode already, go and check it out on Disney+. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any weekly uploads. We open with Walker running, similar to the opening of Captain America the Winter Soldier, but in this one, Captain America's running away from his problems rather than running towards them like Steve always did. We get a close-up shot of John's eyes as he flashes back to the killing of Nico, the Flag Smasher, similar to Bucky's flashbacks of the people he killed as the Winter Soldier. And unlike Bucky, John was in control of his actions the entire time. Walker gets into the storage house, and the whole camera is out of focus, showing Walker's mind racing after murdering someone and just running away from it. He has some more nervous tics, and he grabs his head like he's having a migraine. John says, "You told me. You didn't want me to go in. And why didn't I listen?" Obviously saying that Lamar had told him not to go in, but not listening to his partner got him killed. We get a flashback to Lamar saying that he consistently makes the right decisions in the heat of battle, and John looks back, seeing two mistakes that he made in a row, not listening to Mar and killing the Flag Smasher. Sam and Bucky show up, and they begin to attack Walker to take the shield, doing exactly what Sam said that they weren't going to do. Bucky had said, "Let's take the shield and do this ourselves," but Sam had replied, "We can't just run up on a man, beat him up, and take it." But this is exactly what they do. They beat Walker up, break his arm, and take the shield. They get into a fight, and Walker throws Bucky against a pole, and Bucky's arm breaks and starts to crackle with electricity, which doesn't seem like something it should be doing since his arm is made out of vibranium. John pins Sam down, and he says, "I am Captain America," also saying it in court, putting a new spin on Tony's lines in Iron Man and Endgame. While Tony says it as a fact, something that just is, Walker says it as something he needs to prove. Then he rips Sam's wings off, and he brings up his shield, about to do the same thing that he did to Nico the Flag Smasher, but Bucky tackles him, saving him. They grab the shield and break Walker's arm in the process. We hear Sam talking about how the GRC is conducting raids to find Carly. We're shown a shot of a police car license plate which says 52A350, which could be a nod to Captain America issue 350, which Captain America defeats John Walker, paralleling Sam and Bucky's recent defeat of Walker. Sam and Torres talk, and when Sam leaves, he tells Torres to keep the wings. This could be setting up Torres to become the next Falcon, since in the comics, Joaquin Torres became the new Falcon after Sam, when Sam takes up the role as Captain America. We might even get to see Torres don the wings in the final fight of the next episode. Walker sits with his wife, and when Valentina Allegra de Fontaine walks into the room to talk to him. In the comics, she's a high-ranking S.H.I.E.L.D. member for a long time, and she was in love with Nick Fury. For a time, she joined Hydra as Madam Hydra, but then betrayed them. She also flirted with Steve Rogers to make Fury jealous, which in turn made Sharon Carter angry at her, because she was in love with Steve at the time. This could be setting her up to be some kind of foil to Sharon Carter, but I'm not really sure. She says that the shield doesn't really belong to the government, which is because the vibranium that was in that shield was stolen unlawfully from Wakanda. We see Zemo back at the monument for Sokovia that he referenced back 2 episodes ago, and on it you can see some Sokovian words that translate to the sign of Sokovia to the people something. Io says that they're going to be taking him to the raft, which if you remember is the place where Team Cap was being held when they lost the battle in Civil War.
Futurist, gentlemen! The futurist is here! He sees all. He knows what's best for you, whether you like it or not. Give me a break, Barton.
I had no idea they'd put you here. Come on.
Sam brings the shield to Isaiah Bradley in the case that Old Man Cap gave the shield to Sam in. Isaiah says, "I used to be like you until I opened my eyes, until I saw the men in the red tails, the famous 332 fight for this country, only to come home to find crosses burned on their lawns." This is a reference to the 332nd Fighter Group in World War II, consisting of all African Americans called the Red Tails, because the tails of their planes were painted red to be identified. He tells Sam that some of his brothers in arms were captured and put in a prisoner of war camp, and the U.S. was planning on blowing up the camp. But Isaiah decided to save them, and he did. He got no appreciation for that, while Steve Rogers did almost the same exact thing, saving captured men, and he got all the praise. Bucky meets up with Sam, and he begins to help fix up the boat. I love how much they emphasize Bucky's super strength, starting with him lifting the super heavy crate, then stopping the pipe, then he rips off the thing that Sam was taking forever to work on. We see Sharon Carter in her mansion, and there's a painting that is the Raft of the Medusa, which is a painting about a ship of 150 men that sailed during the Napoleonic Wars. All except 10 ended up dying from suicide, fighting, being washed overboard, cannibalism, starvation, and more. We see Sharon talking to Batroc the Leaper on the phone, saying that she has another job for him, and that she'll give him double this time, saying that the mission in the first episode where Sam rescues the army general from Batroc was Sharon paying Batroc to kidnap him for her. This is very similar to how in Winter Soldier, Batroc was hired by Nick Fury to hijack his own ship for information. Sam and Bucky go out with the shield, and Bucky says, "When Steve told me what he was planning, I don't think either of us understood what it felt like for a black man to be handed the shield." This gives us some context, saying that Bucky, during Endgame, talked with Steve before he went back to return the Infinity Stones. And Bucky talked to him about how he was going to stay back in time and give the shield back to Sam when he came back. This is why Bucky was so calm when he saw Old Man Steve. Sam says that he's sure that there's at least one person in that book that needs closure about something that only Bucky can give them. Then he says just to start with one. This is most likely setting up what the first few episodes started of Bucky making amends with Yori Nakajima by telling him that he's the one who killed his son as the Winter Soldier. Sam gets a pep talk from his sister, and he begins his Rocky-style training montage, starting off with some running, push-ups, and then throwing the shield. By the end of it, he's ripped, he's flipping like it's nobody's business, and he can catch and throw the shield like a boss. What I kind of found funny is that earlier Sam had chucked the shield, and it had stuck into the trunk of a tree. But now, when he chucks it at a wooden dock pole, it just bounces right off, which doesn't make much sense. Carly meets up with Batroc, and he shows them a suitcase with 4 spheres, probably some kind of grenade, a knife up top, and in the back, a submachine gun, 2 handguns, and there's 2 silver tubes reading 137, which could be a nod to Captain America issue 137, where he and Sam Wilson teamed up. Sam opens up the Wakandan briefcase, and he sees what's inside it. Then it rolls to credits. We get our first post-credit scene, which starts out with the sound of Walker hammering something, which is a callback to the post-credit scene at the end of Endgame, where Tony was building his first Iron Man suit from a box of scraps. He puts a medal on his shield, creating probably a self-reminder that he's a good person. But by the end of the shield, the medal is nowhere to be found. Alright, so one of the big mysteries of this episode is what's inside the box that was sent to Sam from Wakanda. I'm going to be going through a couple things that it could be and tell you which one I think it'll probably end up being. One option is that Sam could be given a new vibranium shield, maybe to represent him more as a hero, and say that he's not going to be using the same thing that Walker used to kill someone. The problem I have with this one, though, is that first of all, he already has a shield, and second of all, the whole show is talking about the legacy of that shield in particular. The second option is that since Sam's Falcon wings have just been destroyed, he's getting new vibranium wings. This is a great option because overall this just makes a lot of sense. But I don't think that this is going to be it, because the whole point of this show is Sam taking on himself the role of Captain America, and he can't do that if he's still Falcon. I also think that the role of Falcon is going to be going to Torres like in the comics, so there can't be 2 Falcons at the same time. The final thing that could be in the box is a vibranium weaved Captain America suit for Sam. This is really good because Sam's not actually a super soldier, so the vibranium could give him an extra boost to his power level against some of the bigger threats that he might face. We also get a quick glimpse of what's inside the box, and from what we can see, there's white straps coming up, very similar to that of Sam's Captain America suit in the comics. This episode was kind of slow, with a lot of dialogue taking up large portions of this episode, but it was very much needed. It allowed us to see deep parts of the characters that we didn't know about yet. However, we did get a very satisfying opening fight sequence of 2v1, bringing back some serious Civil War vibes. We also got to see a great training montage of Sam becoming Captain America. Overall, I think this episode was more of a setup for the big finale next week. I'm really excited for the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Put down any questions you might have down in the comments section, or let me know what you think is in the box from Wakanda. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next breakdown.